Yeah. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long time since I seen my nigga, cause the last time was the last time I seen my nigga. Yeah, I'm in my feelings, cause the last time was the right time to tell my nigga to stay out the way. And tell him he ain't gotta hustle, he ain't gotta stay. And if I make it, he made it. Let's both get up out of here. I know a change coming, but before the blessing, man, it's a storm coming. Let's both get home, it's cool to run from me, yeah. Tell him that I know, it's been a long grind. I know it has, man. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. I told my folks a change coming. They looked at me and said them words don't really mean nothing. Where we from, even the preacher preaching don't mean nothing. They need to see something. So I reached in my pocket and gave it to them, cause it means something, yeah, to them. Tell them that I know, yeah, I know. It's been a long ride. I know it has, man. It's been a long time coming. But I know.
Hey, melanated love.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is.
Hey, Janelle.
It's been a long time since I seen my nigga, cause the last time was the last time I seen my nigga. Yeah, I'm in my feelings, cause the last time was the right time to tell my nigga to stay out the way. And tell him he ain't gotta hustle, he ain't gotta stay. And if I make it, he made it. Let's both get up out of here. I know a change coming, but before the blessing, man, it's a storm coming. Let's both get home, it's cool to run from me, yeah. Tell him that I know, it's been a long grind. I know it has, man. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. I told my folks a change coming. They looked at me and said them words don't really mean nothing. Where we from, even the preacher preaching don't mean nothing. They need to see something. So I reached in my pocket and gave it to them, cause it means something, yeah, to them. Tell them that I know, yeah, I know. It's been a long ride. I know it has, man. It's been a long time
Hey, Tootie.
coming. But I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long time.
Marquise. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. How is everybody doing on this early Friday morning? Tasha, why you up? I don't know. I just felt like going live. Maybe something finna happen. You know, strange things happen at the treehouse. How is everyone doing this hot ass Friday morning? Marquise, Tootie, Jamel, Melanated, Branch Watchers, how y'all doing? Replay gang gang. Make sure y'all put it in the comments. Y'all know y'all are what drives us up the algorithm. Y'all want me to be y'all little secret, huh? You're my little secret. I had no particular reason for going live this morning, just because I wanted to, because I wanted to talk to you. Excuse me. Now is the time. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Ain't no better way to be, Marquise. If you have not already, you better go subscribe to Anthony Q, because you never know what he gonna drop on you. He sounds just as good in person as he does on YouTube. I have heard it with my own two ear holes. If you happen to be in Memphis, he will be at, what's it called? The music sound room, the music room. I think it's called the Memphis Music Room. Let me check and make sure, because I don't want to tell y'all no wrong. Why it make it so hard for you to find people that you already know on Facebook? It be killing me. I'm about to go off Facebook. They say only the old folk on Facebook now. I'm just there for the memes and the reels. The 901 Day Indie Music Fest. And then he will be at I'm still scrolling. Hey, Yemi. Fudge pants. I came with y'all. Yes, I did, Tootie. That's the one title, Blindsided by the Blind Side. This thing, you know what I hate about social media? When you looking for something, you can't never find it. But when you ain't looking for it, there it go. Okay, October 14th, he's going to be at the Anomaly Room. We got a couple of stories rolling right now. We keeping our eye out on the folding chair Wakandian, and seeing what's up with him, because you know they wanted him to come back in for questioning. But I think they probably think it's in their best interest not to charge that man too harshly. He already got a civil rights lawyer that's down there willing to fight for him for free, because you know it's clout, 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 clout. And then we have the eBay lawsuit. The couple in Massachusetts are suing eBay for stalking and cyber stalking, and people are actually on house arrest for this shit. They sent a pig mask covered in fake blood to their house. I mean, come on. I mean, what else am I supposed to call it? Mr. I don't want to put the man's name out there no more than it already is. And as somebody pointed out, as much as people want to, you know, acknowledge these people, you kind of putting a target on their back. Don't forget they live in Alabama. They charged them with disorderly conduct. What they charged the folding chair with? I want to know what they charged the folding chair with. That folded chair said, give us free. And it don't nobody sit up here sign trying to say I'm picking. No, that's off of Amistad for your youngins. In case any youngins run across this video, I'm just going to let y'all know right now, because I don't want no controversy. Like Prince say. Controversy? Yeah, he turned himself in and he walked in and out with that civil rights lawyer. Anybody heard from Carlos? Justice for Carlos. Has anybody heard from Carlee Russell? The chair was released. Like that 16-year-old that swam across and jumped up on that dock like he was some kind of mythical sea creature. It's nice and all to, but don't put their names out there. Don't put their faces so much. Be aware of what you post, because these are real people. This wasn't a movie. Yo, Ricky Smiley interviewed the chair. Somebody else interviewed the chair too, and the chair seemed kind of radical during that interview. They done made a couple of songs. Let's see what else is going on. Canada is still on fire. Yes, Canada is still on fire. When is Canada not on fire? Is Canada the new California? I mean, I'm not making light of forest fires, don't get me wrong, but Canada been on fire off and on for like 2 months now. That's gotta be California record, doesn't it? The last death toll I saw on Hawaii was 101. Chuck is okay. For those of y'all that didn't know, that aren't connected with him on Facebook, Chuck is fine. Chuck is safe. It was not in Chuck's area. Chuck Morgan and the Nuwaubian Hunters is still a thing. $110. I correct myself. I know, right? Hawaii, you think it might be a volcano or some shit, but it was a freaking fire. Can a fire spark off a volcano? Lord, let's hope not. Yeah, that is a lot. And the native Hawaiians are up in arms. Oh, Cheeto going to court in D.C. and in Georgia. His lawyer tried to push Georgia back 2 years, and Georgia was like, no. They say, what's-her-face was frolicking in the ocean like 30 miles away. You could see her from where it was burning and shit. Just craziness. Oh, excuse my language. I know some of y'all at work. Tyler Perry did not bid enough to get BET, so BET took it back off the market. Family. If every black American put in $5, we could buy BET. And one of the where'd it go? I done refreshed in the article and disappeared. It say somebody resigned talking about health reasons. No, you probably got a couple of threats in your inbox. Yeah, health reasons. I want to stay alive. Lizzo's dancers thank her for tour experience shattering limitations amid misconduct lawsuit. I mean, somebody can do you right and wrong at the same time. But I mean, okay, so she wanted to break into the entertainment industry. That's because she's a classically trained flutist, right? And they say she good, right? Because I don't listen to Lizzo. But if she that good, she could play in anybody orchestra. Not Terrence Crawford. I can't with y'all this early in the morning. And it's not, look, I listen to music from today, just not all music from today. I'm real selective about my music, like I'm real selective about what I watch, because I can watch stuff for a little while and then I'll be like, you can ask my kids, I'll be flipping through songs and I'll be like, I'll list out what's wrong with it and just keep flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping. And I'll be like, man, bump that. Put a book on tape on or something. Because I get in my bags where I don't want to hear none of that. Cheeto done used supporters' donations to pay legal bills. He been threatening folks, so that might make his trial come faster. Because we see what happened the last time they let him run his lips. Done made threats against the grand juror. See, this is somebody. I think they gave him a mental evaluation. Oh yeah, and they say it might be a tropical storm that hits California. Have they given him a mental evaluation? Are they sure his cheese ain't slipped off the cracker? I mean, really, the lights on, but ain't nobody home. A couple of sandwiches short of a picnic. Him and 12 some odd flunkies got to go to court in Georgia, and he out here threatening people on, what was it, Twitter? Or no, my bad, X, formerly Twitter, if you want to get technical. Oh, the top emergency official. They didn't cut the sirens on. That's what it was. They didn't cut the sirens on, so didn't nobody know it was a disaster. I mean, the thing that our phones go off 15 times a day telling us it's excessive heat warnings every daggone day. And you mean to tell, look, I'm tired of my phone going off, making me think I got a text message or something like I'm special. And it's the daggone weather telling me it's going to be excessively hot. Guess what? It's August. I know. This heat wave ain't going nowhere till probably September. Hope it go in. Look. If it stretch over to October, I'm going to test the weather back in Georgia. I might move back to Georgia. It'll be a rainy night in Georgia. My cousins them a cuss me slap out. Bitch, we just moved you up here. I know. Moved to Savannah by the riverfront. Gotta be ready. Mega rich musicians bagged 10 million in COVID grants they didn't have to pay back. Well, look like the girl, but y'all have other problems up in the shy. I mean, I know the whole shy ain't like that, but I'm country. I grew up in the country. Not just in Georgia. I grew up in the country, like literally. I grew up on a farm. We started out life in the city, and then they changed the ordinance, so my dad had to take his animals and move out in the country, and we went with him, as a family does. And that was like right before I started kindergarten. That was back in the days when you didn't have to go to Head Start. Been halfway around the world and I still prefer the country. Hey, oh. No, Marquise, you're not the only one. But see, I'm a single parent. I mean, you just turned down free money. My dad raised pigs. We had an occasional cow or two. He grew like corn. Well, he grew feed corn. Um, like certain stuff he grow just for the house. But then like he'll grow greens. Some of the stuff I didn't even see. Look, I had real bad. It would tootie, but I was a sickly child. Like I go outside and my nose would just start spontaneously bleeding. I had real bad allergies. Marquise, go look at some of my shorts. Goats are very smart, so they are very hard to keep contained. They open gates. They run away. All of that. So I got a couple of two because my dad was raising goats a couple of years ago. He put the hay bale in there and they'll jump on the hay bale like they playing King of the Hill. But it's a couple of goat farm YouTuber content creators on YouTube, and I think one of them's on TikTok. Oh, and it's this one dude called. Hold on, let me see if I can find him. His name Hood Billy. Hold on. Oh. Now don't you ever, man, know what you getting into before you get into it. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Hold on. Is this not the right? This can't be the right profile because ain't nothing on it. Oh, here we go. Look, goats are on another level, Marquise. You might want to, if you ain't never raised a farm animal before, because there's a difference between a farm animal and like a dog or a cat or a hamster. Look, I'm gonna tell you, it be like some wild west shit. The animal look at you, you look at the animal. and you be like, you better not, and they just take off. And then you on Mr. Toad's wild ride trying to catch them mofos. This goat be on top of houses and everything else.
Look what this stupid bitch. He done turned my damn.
Oh yeah, and most importantly, they will chew through anything.
Drop top to his sunroof, this stupid bitch. Get the fuck out. I'm too upset to talk. Look what this stupid bitch.
And then you can hear the other goat in the
Look what this
background.
stupid bitch.
Ah, no wonder.
He done turned my damn drop top to his sunroof, this stupid bitch.
Oh, why does it do all this? See, this is why I don't like going on Facebook on my computer. Oh, you're doing too much. I think this is the one I saw. I was like, what in...
And while she was yelling, should have stayed out the trash. You need to stay. You need to stay out the damn trash. Had the damn shrimp bag stuck on her damn face and shit.
Hey, J Vision, one love. Watch.
And Billy Earl, the one who started tearing up the trash in the first place. This bitch was yelling. I was wondering why she was yelling.
The goat name is Billy Earl. You can't make this stuff up. But how it's one where the daggone goat done got on top of a house. Oh, and then it's a guy on Big O that night fish. But he have on all kind of jewelry, all kind of rings and chains and stuff. I be like, Lord have mercy. That he like the hood fisherman or something.
We outside. You understand us? We outside. We just chilling. What y'all on today? How y'all's day going? No limit, Y'all see it? What y'all on though? What y'all on?
Did I show y'all the chicken, the great chicken wars? The TikTok chicken wars. It's probably some more of them by now. But what else is going on? Is it football season already? Tyler looked like he done got some work done. And has anybody else noticed that the news is being filled with more scams than the news lately? Oh Lord, the hurricane is called Hillary. They just hard to handle. Look, they basically get free reign over whatever. Cause if you don't let them, they gonna get it. They gonna make the access themselves. now see, now the author coming out, the author of The Blind Side coming out saying something. As the drama has unfolded between Michael Oher and the Toohey family, The Blind Side author Michael Lewis said he feels sad for the former NFLer. But 16 years ago, the best-selling writer once joked about Oher's college grades during an interview with Google. In a recently resurfaced video, Lewis was interviewed at the company's headquarters in California on September 11, 2007, and was asked about how Oher was faring academically at Ole Miss. Google him now. He's on the dean list at Ole Miss, which says a lot about the dean's list at Ole Miss, Lewis said, leading to laughs from the Mountain View audience. This is getting... Lewis, whose 2006 book was turned into the award-winning 2009 movie that starred Sandra Bullock, also spoke about how schools such as Ole Miss don't challenge their student athletes in the classroom. There are schools like Ole Miss, and Ole Miss isn't even the best example. They seem mainly to exist to sustain a football team. And then they take these kids, many of whom are from the underclass, poor black kids from ghettos around America, and let them into the school, and then they make a track for them inside the school, and the track is not designed for them to get an education or even to engage with the school outside the football team. Lewis added that all the poor black kids are majoring in criminal justice, but then gave Oher credit for being engaged in his studies and for wanting to embark on a journalism career after playing football. Oher, who went on to graduate from Ole Miss with a criminal justice degree, petitioned the Tennessee probate court this week with claims that Sean and Lee and Toohey never officially adopted him. And they still have to have a conservatorship on him because it says Sean and Lee Ann Toohey will enter into a consent order to end the conservatorship. So they done had, this man is 35 years old? Why have they had a conservatorship over him for all these years? So that means any money that he received, and then remember they made him sign his everything over to that other place. A shame and a scandal. Earlier this week, Lewis, who is a friend of Sean Toohey dating back to their childhoods, told the Washington Post that Hollywood is to blame for the whole situation. Everybody should be mad at the Hollywood studio system, Lewis said. Michael Oher should join the writer's strike. It's outrageous how Hollywood accounting works, but the money is not in the Toohey's pockets. What I feel really sad about is I watched the whole thing up close, Lewis added. They showered him with resources and love. That he's suspicious of them is breathtaking. The state of mind one has to be in to do that, I feel sad for him. Okay, first off, they have a conservatorship over this 35-year-old man. Second off, there is a document where they got directly from the studio $225 plus 2.5% for the husband, the wife, and the son and the daughter. So whatever Lewis got was pennies, because he gave half of that to them, probably not knowing that they got this other money, and he's sitting up there defending them. Just dumb. Right, Tootie. Because it's like you can sit up there and say they didn't get nothing, but it's a document saying they got $225,000 plus 2.5%. So why do they keep bringing up this 14 stacks that he gave them? Because see, they already had money, but you know, with some people, what they have is never enough. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to go over some more of the eBay documents. Because I downloaded them. I'm not going back to pay for every time. Because you have to pay for that shit every time. That was $20. Oh, excuse me. First flash mob arrest in Americana at Brand Mall robbery. LAPD forms retail robbery task force. It's a day. Girl, look, I did the calculations. Hakeem, peace and welcome. Girl, it's $31 million, including the 225,000 for all of them. It's $31 million. Yeah, exactly. Look, they had control over everything. No, they signed over control over everything down to his voice to that studio. The Glendale Police Department has made its first arrest related to a flash mob robbery this month at the Yves Saint Laurent store at the Americana at Brand Mall. You know what we ain't even thought about? Video games. Because Madden come out every year. Because think about it, 2.5 times 4 is 10. So that's 10% of 3 million. That's 30 million right there. Then the 225,000 times 4, that's a million again. Which comes to a grand total of 31 million before the IRS whopped their ass with the tax man. The tax man coming. And you know, it's been exposed that all of these colleges was giving kickbacks to these athletes when they came. Right, Marquise, because he done came to him about it before. He's talking about, oh, he was threatening to go. No, he wasn't threatening. He was telling you what you was going to do. He was going to end the conservatorship, or he was going to go public with it. He was going to go public with it if they did that. So it wasn't a threat. It was a consequence of their actions. Okay, let me pull these up. I don't even know what page we ended on. Right, Tootie. They saw he had potential and they sat up there and they used him. Because, look, they didn't give him the conservatorship papers, lined up and knocked off TV. Peace. I can't with y'all. I cannot with y'all. Nequable. But look, he went in and out their house for 2-3 years before they gave him those conservatorship papers. Told him they couldn't adopt him because he was a legal adult. But you can adopt. Look, the serial killer Eileen Wuornos got adopted while she was on death row by some crazy lady that ran a wolf conservatory. But that's a story for another day. How far did I get in this joint? I want to say 62, but I know I didn't read 62 pages of this. Oh yeah, I was like on number 4, I think. Okay, yeah, we're gonna start here. This one family is gonna be long. Family. Okay, let me put my glasses on. Put on some chapstick. This is all to avoid stops. Even though I'm going to have to anyway. Okay. eBay, through its chief executive leadership, sent a directive and enlisted at least 7 members of the eBay security staff. Defendants James Bow, David Harville, Brian Gilbert. Okay, before I start this recap, for anybody that wasn't here last time, it's this couple that own a website called ecommercebytes.com. The husband basically runs the back end and does a little bit of journalism, but the wife is the one that does most of the journalistic work. They've been doing it for years. They used to have a good symbiotic relationship with eBay. Um, Under the old president, when they would post something that the eBay higher echelon was actually subscribed to this website. So they would see when something was wrong and they would reach out to the seller via these people, but when the new president came along, it seemed to be a problem. And hence we have this cyber stalking/stalking lawsuit. Defendants James Bow, David Harville, Brian Gilbert, Stephanie Potts, Stephanie Stockwell, Philip Cook, and Veronica Z, an eBay contractor employed by PFC, most of whom, on information and belief, directly or indirectly reported to eBay's head of security and operation to deal with the Steiners. Defendants Winnig and Weimer provided the other defendants with carte blanche authority to terminate the reporting of the Steiners by whatever means necessary, with defendant Weimer expressing, "I want to see ashes, as long as it takes, whatever it takes." Defendant Weimer promised the defendants he would embrace managing any bad fallout if the plan went south, further directing, "We need to stop her." All of the horrific, hey Salima Bull, all of the horrific, vicious, and sickening conduct that followed was committed by employees of eBay and PFC while acting in the scope of their employment under the authority of and for the benefit of eBay and PFC. The events that followed shock the conscience and demonstrate the utter depths eBay would stoop in order to take the Steiners down and end their reporting on eBay. Starting with an online intimidation campaign, the defendants taunted Ina Steiner using a phony Twitter handle pretending to be an eBay seller and directly threatened her to stop reporting on eBay. The online attacks continued to escalate into threatening and disturbing package deliveries, which included live spiders, cockroaches, a bloody pig's mask, a funeral wreath, and a book entitled Grief Diaries, Surviving Loss of a Spouse, sent directly to David Steiner. These messages and deliveries often were accompanied by ominous simultaneous Twitter messages such as, "Do I have your attention now? C-word." Shockingly graphic and vulgar messages such as, "You are sick MRFers and everyone will know. You effing CAB," paired with taunting emails and deliveries including Naughty magazines and Hustler, sent to the Steiners' neighbor's home in David Steiner's name to defame the Steiners and attempt to disgrace them and tarnish their reputation within their community. After several days of around-the-clock threatening and vulgar emails, packages, and online messages, defendants Winnig and Reimer's henchmen, including defendants Bow, Harville, and Z, traveled over 3,000 miles from California to Natick, Massachusetts, to continue the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. ITTTSSS. Because it comes up a lot, from what I remember. The defendants, including but not limited to defendant Z and Harville, carrying out the orders of eBay's senior executives, menacingly stalked and tailed the Steiners in a black van and other rental vehicles, reportedly circling the block, tracking their every move, and following David Steiner when he left the residence. The defendants even went as far as to attempt to break into the Steiners' garage in order to install a GPS tracking device on their vehicle. The defendants, including but not limited to Bao, Harville, and Z, had practiced installing a tracking device on a similar vehicle in California in an eBay parking lot for this specific purpose. Simultaneously, the defendants who remained in California, including but not limited to defendants Pop, Stockwell, Cook, and Gilbert, continued with the online threats and stalking, and their menacing skull avatar Twitter handle began publicly posting the Steiners' home address on Twitter, along with threats to kill the Steiners. Add doxing to the list. The defendants also posted the Steiners' address on Craigslist and other websites, inviting strangers to the Steiners' home for X parties and advertising yard sales, announcing that would-be visitors should knock on the door at all hours because everything must go. Fearing for their lives, the Steiners installed surveillance cameras to monitor anyone approaching their home. The Steiners manned the surveillance footage at all hours of the day and night and stayed in separate bedrooms so that if any of the defendants broke into their home or attacked one of the Steiners, the other could escape and call for help. The Steiners were paralyzed with fear. Their calls to the local police grew more frequent, with defendant Z and Pop, at the direction of defendant Bao, monitored with a police scanner in an attempt to stay one step ahead of both the Steiners and any law enforcement. The defendants knew the panic and fear they were inflicting on the Steiners by carrying out defendant Winnick and Weimer's plan, which only fueled their fire. They praised one another that their work was accomplishing their goal of intimidating, threatening, torturing, terrorizing, stalking, and silencing the Steiners. The defendants callously joked that the Steiners were seeing ghosts, think everyone is following them, and they call the police every 10 minutes. And we know the targets have been impacted by this op. Despite recognizing the mental and emotional anguish the defendants were inflicting, the defendants continued to persist with the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. Once the defendants realized that the Natick Police Department was investigating the conspiracy, the defendants plotted to destroy the evidence, mislead the investigation, and divert attention away from eBay. Defendant Bao called a meeting and directed the others to delete all communications and evidence related to the scheme, and the defendants persistently lied to investigators and fabricated evidence. Their cover-up attempts included effort to create a fake dossier and a phony person of interest file on the Steiners to make them appear crazy, and ensure the defendants could deflect their own blame when interacting with law enforcement. Ultimately, defendants Cook, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z pled guilty to an information in Federal District Court, District of Massachusetts, and defendant Bao and Harville were indicted as a result of defendants' conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, and for misleading and tampering with the investigation. Defendant Weimer's employment was terminated by eBay, and Chief Executive Officer Defendant Winnick departed eBay with a $57 million severance package. At all times relevant to this complaint, the individually named defendants were acting in concert with one another as agents and employees of eBay and or PFC within the scope of their employment with the intent to benefit their employers in furtherance of an eBay's direct command through Chief Executive Officer Defendant Winnick and Senior Vice President Chief Communications Officer Defendant Weimer to silence the Steiners in their reporting and all actions taken where in furtherance of that goal. When defendants Bao, Harville, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, and others were carrying out the directives of Defendant Winnick and Weimer, all were acting within the scope of their employment with and for the benefit of eBay, or contracted by eBay through PFC in carrying out the directives of defendants Winnick and Weimer. They were acting within the scope of their employment. eBay and PFC's conspiracy, though its employees and contractors to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, was successful and harmful. As a natural and foreseeable consequence of defendants' coordinated efforts, defendants' conduct has had a devastating effect on the emotional and mental well-being of David and Ina Steiner, causing permanent harm. The unrelenting stream of threats to kill, disturbing deliveries, as well as the physical surveillance caused the Steiners to suffer from significant and continuing emotional distress, including but not limited to anxiety, panic attacks, persistent and debilitating concerns about their physical safety, habitual insomnia, embarrassment, humiliation, shame, and perpetual fear that they are being followed and tracked, all of which suffering continues now and will continue in the future. Hey, y'all do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat. I'm trying to make sure the chat's still moving and it ain't stuck like it does sometimes. The conduct of the defendants has also defamed both Steiner's name within the community and online. The conspiracy also caused harm to e-commerce sites because the defendants' actions have had a chilling effect on e-commerce sites' ability to report on eBay, where the conspiracy has caused would-be sources and customers to avoid further dealings with the Steiners, thank you, J-Vision, for fear that they will become eBay's next victims. Moreover, at the time of this conspiracy, the Steiners and e-commerce sites were the leading source of e-commerce information and data nationwide, but the conduct of eBay and PFC has had a stifling effect on their reporting, hampering current and future business growth. Hold on. Weather changing. The Steiners bring this action to put an end to the defendants' conspiracy and the violation of their state and constitutional rights, including but not limited to freedom of speech and press, to ensure that such harassment does not again happen to them or any other journalists, to seek redress for the significant emotional, physical, and economic harm it has caused, and to seek to become whole again as a result of the damage to their business and reputation. Okay, jurisdiction and venue. This court has diversity jurisdiction over the subject matter of this action pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1332 because plaintiffs and defendants are citizens of different states and the amount in controversy exceeds the sum or value of $75,000 exclusive of interest and costs. Plaintiffs David and Ina Steiner are both citizens of Massachusetts. On information and belief, defendants Winnick and Weiner, Bow, Harville, Gilbert, Stockwell, Z, and Cook are all citizens of California. eBay is incorporated in Delaware and its principal place of business is in California. PFC is incorporated in Nevada and its principal place of business is in Las Vegas, Nevada. This court also has jurisdiction over the subject matter of this action pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1331, based on the federal claims asserted under the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, Act 18 U.S.C. 1961 and 18 U.S.C. 1343, 1962, and 1964. This court may exercise supplemental jurisdiction over plaintiff state law claims pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1367. This court has personal jurisdiction over defendants pursuant to MGLC 223A 3A and C because the defendants caused torturous injury in this Commonwealth by acts committed outside of Massachusetts, where eBay regularly transacts business in Massachusetts, and the defendants caused torturous injury by acts in this Commonwealth. Defendants committed intentional torts purposefully directed at plaintiffs' residents of Massachusetts with knowledge that their actions would harm and cause plaintiffs emotional and economic injury in their home state of Massachusetts. Venue is proper in the District Court of Massachusetts pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1391 because a substantial part of the events and omissions giving rise to the claims occurred in Massachusetts. Plaintiffs Ina and David Steiner are citizens of Massachusetts residing in Natick, Massachusetts, and own and operate Steiner Associates LLC. Steiner Associates LLC is the publisher for E-Commerce Bytes, a leading trade publication for e-commerce information. Steiner Associates LLC has a principal place of business in Natick, Massachusetts. Defendant eBay Inc. is a Delaware corporation with its principal place of business in San Jose, California. Let's go on ahead and skip this part and read multinational, limited liability. Okay, I read further than I thought last time. I read that too. Okay, defendant Veronica Z is an individual who, on information and belief, resides in Santa Clara, California. Defendant Z was an eBay contractor who worked as an intelligence analyst in the GIC. Defendant PFC, upon information and belief, was paid by eBay during Defendant Z's employment to serve as her manager throughout her placement at eBay. Jane and John Doe, defendants, were employees of either eBay or PFC. Together, defendants Bow, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, Harville, Z, and Cook make up some of the members of the eBay security division, and on information and belief, the entire team was a direct report of eBay's head of security and operations, who ultimately reported to defendant Winnick. Defendant Weimer, on information and belief, was a direct report to defendant Winnick. All defendants were responsible for the intimidation, threats, torture, terrorization, stalking, and silencing of the Steiners, acts that occurred during the scope of their employment. All took instructions both directly and indirectly from senior management of eBay. The aiding and abetting or the failure to intervene and or prevent the acts of eBay, its employees and contractors, including but not limited to defendants Winnick, Weimer, Bow, Harville, Cook, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z, give rise to liability on the part of other DOE defendants. In 1999, the Steiners started a trade publication, Auction Bites, which later transformed into e-commerce Bites, reporting on e-commerce companies to assist sellers in the very early days of internet commerce. From its beginning, the trade publication was a key resource for sellers and businesses that sell items online on a number of platforms such as eBay and Amazon, and later Etsy and others. Plaintiff Einar Steiner serves as e-commerce Bites reporter and editor. Plaintiff David Steiner, Einar's husband, is its publisher and is also a reporter for the trade publication. eBay has always been a frequent topic of reporting by e-commerce Bites. As a result, it has been a crucial resource for eBay sellers since the inception of the online marketplace. The Steiners' reporting was instrumental in developing a cohesive resource for buyers and sellers of e-commerce goods with a stellar reputation of seller advocacy and information. Let me take a quick break because I got a pot on my nose. Of course, we're not going to leave you hanging in silence. Listen to Q for probably about a minute and a half, and I'll be right back.
Ooh, yeah. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long time since I seen my nigga, cause the last time was the last time I seen my nigga. Yeah, I'm in my feelings, cause the last time was the right time to tell my nigga to stay out the way. And tell him he ain't gotta hustle, he ain't gotta steal. And if I make it, he made it. Let's go get him out of here. I know what change coming, but before the blessing, man, it's a storm coming. Let's both get home, it's cool to run from me. Tell him that I know, it's been a long grind. I know it has, man. And yeah, it's been it to them, cause it means something, yeah, to them. Tell them that I know, yeah, I know. It's been a long ride. I know it has been. It's been a long time coming. But I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long time.
And we back. That's dedication right there. That boy went out in the woods in Georgia in the middle of the night. You know them skeeters was tearing that ass up. I hope they put on some bug spray. That's some roto. Okay. eBay has always been a frequent topic, chilling, of reporting by e-commerce sites. As a result, it has been a crucial resource for eBay sellers since the inception of the online marketplace. The Steiner's reporting was instrumental in developing a cohesive resource for buyers and sellers of e-commerce goods, with a stellar reputation of seller advocacy and information. Ina Steiner created the Twitter handle at ecommercebytes to promote her reporting and provided the email ina@ecommercebytes.com to allow users of the trade publications the mean by which to communicate with her. I did a live last night. He had a video up. You was there. But nothing since last night. Hold on, let me check again because I checked right before I went live today. Nope. No, he been quiet this morning. More than 50 eBay executives and employees subscribe to the e-commerce Bytes newsletter over the years, including high-level management and public relations personnel. While eBay was an advocate and collaborator in e-commerce Bytes beginning days, even inviting the Steiners to interview executive team members and other employees and contractors, eBay executives under renewed tutelage with defendant Winnick took issue with the Steiners' reportings. Okay. Of eBay and its upper management. Resistance to the site and its reporting began in May of 2012 when eBay falsely accused and reported e-commerce Bytes as a phishing site. eBay later admitted its error and retracted its report. eBay employees also frequently use fake identities to post in the comment section below e-commerce Bytes news articles, but the IP addresses for the comments were associated with eBay. This action was in violation of e-commerce Bytes user agreement. Oftentimes, the comments were critical of the Steiners, e-commerce Bytes, and attacked legitimate commenters and users of the website. In January of 2019, an outside investor, Elliott Management, a hedge fund known for its reputation in cutting costs and driving profits, bought a portion of eBay stock and sought changes within the company. Defendants Winnick, Weimer, and other executive leadership within eBay became increasingly concerned about declining market sales and any perceived negative news coverage. E-commerce Bytes was followed with interest by eBay executives, including Wendy Jones, eBay's head of security and operations, and eBay's public relations personnel. On or about January 2019, the executive leadership at eBay, including defendants Winnick and Weimer, expressed frustration with Ina Steiner's frequent reporting on eBay. Defendant Bao directed defendant Stockwell and later defendant Z to monitor the e-commerce Byte newsletter post and instructed them to screenshot them and forward the post to defendant Bao via WhatsApp, an encrypted messaging application on a real-time basis, day or night, any day of the week. This was done to keep executive leadership up to date on an immediate basis. E-commerce Bytes allowed its readers the opportunity to leave comments below the articles. Oftentimes in articles relating to eBay, the anonymous comments were critical of eBay in general and its executive leadership in particular. One commenter of the publication in particular, who was best known by his handle Fidomaster, expressed negative opinions regarding eBay. For example, on or about May 21st, 2019, hold on for a second. Plaintiff Ina Steiner reported that eBay had built on its campus an expensive replica of Walker's, a popular Manhattan bar, and noted that no expense had been spared. Fidomaster tweeted a link to Ina Steiner's article and criticized defendant Winnick for undertaking such a lavish project while eBay was experiencing cost reductions, layoff, and scrutiny by activist investors. With no evidence of a connection, senior members of eBay's security division, including defendants Bow, Harville, and Gilbert, wrongfully believed there was a relationship between the Steiners and Fidomaster. In the spring of 2019, defendant Bow held a meeting with the other defendants and other members of GSR where he discussed sending a fake threatening letter to the Steiners, with a post stamp making it appear as if the letter came from a disgruntled seller in Texas. Around this same time, executives including defendants Winnick and Weimer retained a consultant firm. The consultant firm produced the report Next Steps, Alternative Digital Methods for Reducing Impact of Ina Steiner and David Steiner in E-commerce Bites. The report outlines strategies that would drive the Steiners' articles lower in search engine results. So wait, let me get this straight. Instead of taking the critique and bettering themselves, they're going to try to drive the article down the search results so nobody finds it. So you know you fucking up. You're just trying to save money. Because you know what you need to fix, but you don't want to. You'd rather spend it on other stuff. Like replicas of bars. That's me talking here. Absent and evidence. The defendants, including but not limited to defendants Bow, Harville, and Gilbert, were convinced the Steiners and Fidomaster were working together. On or about June 8, 2019, acting within the scope of his employment and in an effort to carry out eBay's directive and goal to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, defendant Gilbert, at defendant Bow's direction, flew cross-country from California to Boston and drove to the Steiners' home in Natick, Massachusetts, and scrawled the word Fidomaster on their fence. I see this mess every day on social media. People jump to conclusions. They took a great big leap and they was wrong as hell. Why would they need to make up a fake account to post on their own website? They ain't the crazy ones in this scenario. Defendant Gilbert, acting within the scope of his employment and at the direction of defendant Bow, also began reconnaissance into the Steiners' lives, attending a yard sale at the Steiner home, falsely posing as a potential buyer to gain intelligence so that eBay could carry out their conspiracy to what? Intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, and interfere with their First Amendment and Article 16 rights. As part of the conspiracy to silence e-commerce bites and the Steiners' reporting, defendants Winnick, Weimer, Bow, Harville, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, Z, and John and Jane Doe, all while acting within the scope of their employment with eBay and PFC, set a plan in motion to destroy the Steiners' business. The defendants' conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence David and Ina Steiner with the purpose to end their reporting about eBay was documented in emails and text messages, including in response to a text sent by defendant Winnick that linked to an article in which Ina Steiner observed that defendant Winnick's $18 million compensation was 152 times that of an average eBay employee. Defendant Weimer wrote, "We are going to crush this lady." Defendant Weimer, when discussing the Wall Street Journal coverage on eBay, defendant Winnick texted to defendant Weimer, "F them. The Journal is next on the list after Ina Steiner." Defendant Weimer texted to Defendant Bao, Ina is out with a hot piece on the litigation between eBay and Amazon. If we are ever going to take her down, now is the time. Good grief. This dude was just obsessed. When Defendant Weimer noted an article by Ina Steiner where she indicated Defendant Winnick promised to give sellers greater protection was shockingly reasonable, Defendant Winnick responded, "Take her down." Crazy. Nuttier than a fruitcake. In a text exchange between Defendants Weimer and Bao, Defendant Bao stated, David Winnick said to burn her to the ground, correct? And Defendant Weimer responded, Ina Steiner is a biased troll who needs to get burned down. I want to see ashes, as long as it takes, whatever it takes. You know what? This read like some kind of cheesy ass mystery from back in the day. Some knockoff Agatha Christie shit. The only thing that's missing is smoking jackets and Trenton top hats. In an email from Defendant Weimer to Defendant Bao, Defendant Weimer states that the website gives him ulcers, harms employee morale, and trickles into everything about our brand. I genuinely believe these people are acting out of malice, and anything we can do to solve it should be explored. Somewhere, at some point, someone chose to let this slide. It has grown to a point that is absolutely unacceptable. It's the blind eye toward graffiti that turns into mayhem syndrome, and I'm sick about it. Whatever it takes. Defendant Winnick's wife texted Defendant Bao privately about a comment below an e-commerce bites newsletter where a commenter called Defendant Winnick a con man and thief. That's what I'm saying, chillin'. Defendant Winnick's wife wrote to Defendant Bao, I'm not exactly thrilled with this post. I never read Nancy Drew. I went straight for the Agatha Christie and the knockoffs. Defendant Winnick's wife wrote to Defendant Bao, I'm not exactly thrilled with this post on my favorite newsletter. The author gets people worked up with the way she skews her stories. Don't tell Defendant Winnick I sent this. I'm just letting you know about it, okay? Ina Steiner was exercising her First Amendment in Article 16, amended by Article 77, right to report on eBay, which she had done for nearly 2 decades before eBay formed its conspiracy and created an internal task force to find and destroy the Steiners. Defendant Winnick and Reimer, members of the eBay executive leadership, directed and granted the other defendants carte blanche authority to torture the Steiners with whatever means necessary, expressing, I want to see ashes, as long as it takes, whatever it takes. The actions of Defendant Bao, Harville, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, and Z were a natural and foreseeable consequence of the directive to take the Steiners down at any cost, and all their subsequent actions occurred within the scope of their employment with eBay and PFC. You know what? You have the right, if you have the right to disobey an unlawful order in the military, you also have that right in the civilian world. And if you get fired, guess what? You can sue. You don't go do the dumb shit, the dumb illegal shit, might I add. Excuse my language. The dumb illegal stuff they want you to do, you don't go do that. If you have to fire me, and then I'm gonna go straight to the legal, and I'm gonna sue you, and I'm gonna get pain and suffering, restitution. Oh, my back hurt, everything. They's a bunch of dummies, a pack of dummies. Oh, he said burn it to the ground? Yeah, he said burn it to the ground. Okay, let's burn it to the ground then. Dumb, just stupid. Who is you? California must got that good water. Was Was y'all inebriated when y'all came up with this plot? Do they pass bongs at the office at eBay out in California? I mean, ooh, goodness, I can't. Even coming out of anesthesia, I ain't never thought about obeying no command like that. She said, burn it to the ground. Should we report them to the police or just leave? That's my thinking. I don't know about y'all, but that's just my thinking. But let's get back to it. Because we going to be reading this shit forever. By the time we finish this, there's probably going to be some more documents available on Pacer. When discussing the conspiracy, defendant Weimer promised to manage any bad fallout from the defendant's acts and ordered defendant Bao to do whatever it takes, making it clear that all defendants would receive support and backing from the executive leadership at eBay regardless of the volatility or force used against the Steiners. eBay, through its executive leadership, including defendants Winnig and Reimer, conspired with defendants Bao, Harville, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, Cook, Z, and John and Jane Doe to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. On information and belief, defendants Bao, Harville, Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, Cook, and Z, and John and Jane Doe all reported to management, who knew or should have known of the conspiracy given its scope. As admitted to by defendants Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z during their plea hearings, the conspiracy was set in motion to attempt to eliminate what eBay executives viewed as negative coverage of eBay, to put a final end to the Steiners reporting. The conspiracy was also enacted to send a message to all reporters that any negative reporting in the eBay would not be tolerated. All defendants knew or should have known that the plan would cause great harm, where it was reasonably foreseeable that such a relentless campaign of around-the-clock threats, harassment, and stalking would cause the Steiners to suffer emotional, physical, and economic harm. Although the stated purpose of the duties of the employees of eBay's security division, GSR, was to eliminate legitimate security threats worldwide, with a sizable budget and an entire department devoted to carrying out that objective, the defendants, acting within the scope of their employment and under directions from executive leadership, used those corporate resources like personal weapons to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners from providing legitimate reporting on eBay. eBay's chief executive officer, defendant Winnig, and eBay's senior vice president and chief communications officer, defendant Weimer, gave the directive to do whatever it takes, granting the defendants broad discretion to use their sought-after background and skills, including defendants Bao, Harville, Cook, and Gilbert's past law enforcement and military experience and training. Let's forget, these wasn't no regular smegular folk. These folk worked in security. They knew better. They more than knew better. They knew this stuff was illegal, but they thought they was above the law. Well, listen, Linda, you thought wrong. This allowed defendants to engage in whatever means necessary to carry out eBay's goal of intimidating, threatening, torturing, terrorizing, stalking, and silencing the Steiners. eBay, through its hiring process, sought employees with the unique experience and skills necessary to engage in the type of behavior used during the course of the conspiracy. eBay used its vast resources to form an internal army with the idiosyncratic proficiency needed to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, and the tactics used by defendant Bao, Harville, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, Z, and John and Jane Doe were reasonably foreseeable. Defendants eBay, PFC, Winnick, and Weimer knew or should have known that the directives would result in emotional, physical, and economic damage to the signers. At all times relevant to the allegations in this complaint, all the named individual defendants acted in concert with one another in furtherance of eBay's directive through its executive leadership defendants, Winnick and Weimer, to silence the Steiners. Members of management knew or should have known subordinates were engaging in the vast conspiracy using eBay resources and time. All acts, whether committed individually or together, were in furtherance of this goal and are attributable to eBay due to the conduct, direction, and commands of its Chief Executive Officer, Defendant Winnick, and Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Officer, Defendant Weimer. All defendants were acting within the scope of his or her employment during the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. I don't know if I be repeating stuff or they repeating stuff in this document. On August 1st, 2019, Ina Steiner published an article about the lawsuit eBay filed against Amazon. It was a short post that ended with plaintiff Ina Steiner questioning defendant Winnick's strategy in dealing with Amazon. Within a half hour of the article's posting, eBay, through its CEO, Defendant Winnick, texted Senior Vice President and Chief Communications Director Defendant Weimer, Ina is out with a hot piece on the litigation. If we are ever going to take her down, now is the time. Defendant Weimer responded on it. The cruel directive to take the Steiners down would then travel down the chain of command at eBay. Disseminating Defendant Winnick's orders, Defendant Weimer texted Defendant Bao, hatred is a sin and I am very sinful. To which Defendant Bao replied that he was ready to escalate, stating, I'm not fucking around. I'm not effing around with her anymore. Defendant Weimer responded, Amen. I want her done. Defendant Bao replied, Winnick said to burn her to the ground, correct? Defendant Weimer wrote, she is a biased troll who needs to get burned down. Defendant Weimer assured Defendant Bao that he would embrace managing any bad fallout. We need to stop her. And then they got a screenshot of the text. Each of the defendants, including eBay and PFC's employees and contractors, defendants Devin Winnick, Steve Weimer, James Bao, David Harville, Brian Gilbert, Stephanie Pop, Stephanie Stockwell, Veronica Z, Philip Cook, directly or indirectly engaged in the intentional and malicious attacks against the Steiners during the scope of their employment at the direction of eBay through its senior management staff, with the intention of chilling the Steiners' First Amendment and Article 16 rights through the stifling of the Steiners' reporting. Not only were the directives from executive leadership, including defendants Winnick and Weimer, with respect to the Steiners clear, the culture itself within eBay fostered an almost cult-like atmosphere where employees were not only expected but required to fulfill company directives regardless of criminality. On information and belief, eBay was known to break down analysts psychologically, and there was a high turnover rate for employees, with executives at eBay knew or should have known was due to the culture. Dang! Defendant Bao, the ringleader, referred to himself as Dad and claimed to... Now, how... You know what? What Cupcake at so she can put that word in the chat? Because this is ridiculous. Yo, eBay is a cult now? eBay turned into a cult. Come along, you belong. Feel the fears of Coca-Cola. I wasn't even thinking about that till I saw, We on page 20, and come to find out they done turned eBay into a daggone cult. Claimed to have worked for the CIA. He used off-kilter techniques to get within the heads of other defendants. On one occasion, after discovering a knife on a barbecue grill on site, defendant Bao warned his team that a deranged person could have found it and used it to stab someone, and proceeded to maniacally stab a chair to prove this point. Risley! Defendant Bao, acting within the scope of his employment with eBay, would often call meetings where he would play movie clips in an effort to perpetuate the code of silence and the requirement that all members of the conspiracy display the utmost loyalty towards other members. What he played, Lord! This behavior was well known and could have easily been corrected or prevented by eBay. During one such meeting, defendant Bao played a clip from American Gangster where Denzel Washington casually executed a man in front of a crowd in order to prove a point. On another occasion, defendant Bao played a scene from The Wolf of Wall Street where the federal government was investigating lurid activities, but somehow none of the perpetrators could recall a thing. Defendant Bao also played a clip from Meet the Fockers about a retired CIA agent's circle of trust, and defendant Bao would often warn, "We'll keep it in the circle of trust," when secrets within the Global Resiliency Department arose. What indeed? You know what? I cannot. This gets worse and worse as you read. It's like I just hear Will Ferrell in my head. What are you on, crazy pills? Are we in some kind of alternate universe? I'm scared. I want to go home. On another occasion, defendant Bao went as far as to have all employees' personal belongings stripped from their lockers and dumped in the trash bags in order to teach them that they were not entitled to privacy at work. Defendant Bao then played a clip from Full Metal Jacket about locker discipline. Oh my gosh. The GSR employees reporting to defendant James Bao consisted mainly of women, were referred to as Gems Angels amongst eBay executive leadership. There's another class action lawsuit coming, demonstrating that the sick and dysfunctional culture was well known and rose to the top echelons. When planning out the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners, defendant Bao played a clip from the 1988 movie Johnny Be Good, in which two friends arranged for the delivery to their football coach's home of a series of unwanted items and people, including $283 in pizzas, an elephant, a male stripper, an exterminator, and Hare Krishna missionaries. Defendant Bao said he wanted to do the same to the Steiners and asked the defendants, including but not limited to defendants Pop and Stockwell, to brainstorm other things they could deliver to the Steiner residents to carry out the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, and silence the Steiners. During this meeting, there was a discussion about sending a coffin to the Steiner residents. During the same meeting, defendant Bao shared messages from defendant Weimer and informed the other defendants, including Pop, Gilbert, and Cook, that eBay, through defendants Winnigan Weimer, sanctioned this conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. Armed with directives from defendants Winnigan Weimer, defendants Bao, and the other defendants, including Harville, Gilbert, Pop, Cook, Stockwell, and Z, set in motion their conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. As admitted by defendants Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z during their plea hearings, the conspiracy was set in motion due to the communications between defendant Winnick, Reimer, and Bao. Defendant Pop, acting within the scope of her employment, created the Twitter account handle at Tui_Ellie, hereinafter the Tui_Ellie account. and defendant Bao approved the image of a menacing skull for the account avatar to further intimidate the Steiners. The defendants, including but not limited to Bao, Gilbert, Cook, Pop, Stockwell, and Z, intimidated and threatened to kill the Steiners by sending and approving a series of anonymous tweets and Twitter direct messages to the Steiners to create an impression that there were eBay sellers who disapproved of e-commerce bites. Coverage of eBay, as admitted to by defendants Gilbert, Pop, Stockwell, and Z during their plea hearings. The tweets were drafted by defendant Pop and approved by other members of the conspiracy, including but not limited to defendant Bao, Cook, and Gilbert. The messages included, "I guess I'm going to have to get your attention another way, B-word." Hold on for a sec, I forgot to do something. "You don't have the cojones to talk to me. Stop hiding behind your computer screen, you effing C-word." "Your fat pea husband needs to be put in line, C-word." "After he takes the plug out of his butt, effing P words. You are sick MRFers, and everyone will know. You just nasty mouth." "When you hurt our business, you hurt our families. People will do anything to protect family." And one of these says, "WTF, what's it gonna take for you to answer me?" On or about August 8th, 2019, plaintiff Ina and David Steiner's email was flooded with over 53 email subscriptions they never signed up for, which were harmful to their reputation and terrifying upon receipt, including but not limited to today. The emails, which were signed up for by the defendants in the Steiner's name, including subscriptions to Peace of Bondage, Dead Body Interest, X Toys, and Anthropy word. Around this same time, defendant Z, while attempting to conceal her appearance, purchased prepaid debit cards at a Safeway grocery store in Santa Clara, California, to use in the conspiracy to intimidate, threaten, torture, terrorize, stalk, and silence the Steiners. On or about August 6th, you know what? We're going to stop here for today. I'm getting sleepy now. I was like, I don't know why I'm up. And now I'm like, I can't hardly stay up. So we're going to end it here for today, fam. This is TripCTreehouse, where it's always swinging. And we're